Ben Ditzel, and this is a special CrossPath program. Recently, CNN aired a news story about a Christian embassy video production about Christians working at the Pentagon. The video sparked controversy because of who was interviewed and the fact that they were in uniform, as well as the fact that it was filmed within the Pentagon. Michael Weinstein and Pastor John MacArthur were interviewed after the feature story. Let's have a look.
Our top story in religion tonight is growing outrage over an evangelical Christian group's promotional video. Much of it was shot at the Pentagon and features top military brass in uniform. A watchdog group is demanding an investigation, saying military regulations forbid promoting any cause, including a religious one. Kathleen Koch has the details.
I meet the people that come into my directorate, and I tell them right up front who Jack Catton is, and I start with the fact that I'm an old-fashioned American, and my first priority is my faith in God, then my family, and then country.
A seemingly innocuous video testimonial, except when the man's uniform belongs to the U.S. Air Force, and the video was shot at the Pentagon.
Christian Embassy is mustering these men and women into an intentional relationship with Jesus Christ.
These clips are part of a 12-minute video promoting a Christian group that evangelizes in Washington.
Generals and admirals meet regularly for the Flag Officer Fellowship.
3 minutes of the video were shot at the Pentagon and show 4 generals and 3 colonels endorsing the organization and espousing their religious beliefs.
Soldiers are going to benefit from the fact that they are military men that are also godly men.
The Military Religious Freedom Foundation, a watchdog group, says the video violates the Constitution and military regulations that prohibit appearing in uniform to promote a cause, religious or not.
There's a regulation that a disclaimer be included saying, even though this person appears, they are not voicing the particular viewpoint of the military. You will notice in this video that disclaimer never ever appeared.
Critics point out that in a military setting in particular, such evangelizing can have a coercive effect.
Because if your superior officer or commander is evangelizing you to your face, get out of my face, sir or ma'am, is not an option for you.
Christian Embassy would not agree to an on-camera interview, but its director says, quote, "The Pentagon gave us permission to film the video. I do not know of any regulations that we violated." The group is adding a disclaimer to the video, but for some of other faiths, that's not enough, especially given what some officers say in parts of the video.
Because we're the aroma of Jesus Christ.
We are the aroma of Jesus Christ. I wonder who he's speaking for when he says we. If he's speaking for all of the people at the Pentagon, that's offensive. That's wrong.
In 2003, Army Lieutenant General William Boykin was criticized for saying in speeches before church groups that President Bush was, quote, appointed by God, and that the U.S. is, quote, a Christian nation. And in 2005, Christian cadets, faculty, and staff at the Air Force Academy were found to have inappropriately proselytized other cadets. Still, the Pentagon says the Defense Department, quote, does not endorse any one religion or religious organization.
We live in a very pluralistic society. In other words, there's people of all faiths that are here. So we don't want to just put one faith above another.
CNN requested interviews with all of the officers who appear in the video, but our request was denied because the Pentagon Inspector General is now investigating whether any rules have been broken. Kathleen Koch, CNN, The Pentagon.
And joining me now from Albuquerque, Michael Weinstein, who we just saw there in Kathleen Koch's report. He's the founder of the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, and author of With God on Our Side, One Man's War Against the Evangelical Coup in America's Military. And from Los Angeles, John MacArthur, pastor of Grace Community Church in Sun Valley and president of Master College and Seminary. I want to start with you, Pastor. You think there's nothing wrong with this video, but I do want to read you a bit from the Pentagon regulations. They say, quote, professionals and especially commanders must not take it upon themselves to change or coercively influence the religious views of subordinates. Could you not say, sir, that by appearing in these videos, the commanders could be trying to influence their subordinates?
Well, certainly we don't know their motives, but that's not an inference that can be immediately drawn. What strikes me is you've got this military fighting to defend people's right to reject Christianity and people who are rising up wanting to take away their right to affirm it.
I think this is what it means to be an American. Whether you're in uniform or out of uniform, you have the freedom to declare what it is that you believe. And I don't think there are any restrictions that should be imposed upon men, whatever their religious belief and whether they're in a uniform or not.
Mikey Weinstein, you've demanded an investigation. Any word from the Pentagon on whether you will get one? And what do you hear? Your group obviously wants to hear from the rank and file who might feel pressured, coerced. You picked the word for it. What are you hearing from the rank and file?
Well, John, you know, there are 702 U.S. military installations in 132 countries around the world, and I get contacted by sailors, soldiers, Marines, and airmen 24/7 around the clock. I can tell you that 96% of the people coming to us that are being tormented are Christians, 3/4 Protestant, 1/4 Roman Catholic. My moles in the Pentagon are telling me that they're running around with like chickens with their heads cut off right now to figure out, you know, who has been in bed with the Christian embassy and who isn't. And with all due respect to Dr. MacArthur, I don't know what planet he's from. He doesn't think there's any implications here. He thinks that there's an illimitable right to pursue one particular biblical worldview of the gospel of Jesus Christ, irrespective of any constraints whatsoever. I mean, if that's what he feels, that there's no separation of church and state, I mean, I think he ought to go to Saudi Arabia or Kim Jong-il's North Korea.
Well, Pastor MacArthur, please feel free to respond. And as you do, just tell me where you would draw the line. I think some would find it extraordinary that this is actually filmed inside the Pentagon. I think it might be less offensive to Mikey and others who are appalled by it if these were individuals perhaps sitting in their home or sitting in their church. Maybe the military uniforms would offend some. I think it would be less objectionable if they weren't actually in the home of the United States military.
Yeah, well, I would affirm the right of Jewish officers to gather together in the Pentagon and state their faith in God, or any other religious group to get together and affirm their faith in God. I think that's what it means to be an American. I don't think the Constitution, I'm clear on that, the Constitution does not forbid church and state coming together. It simply states that the government cannot establish a religion. But we all believe something. Our lives are conducted on what we believe. Everybody lives out his convictions. And to be a Christian is to be dominated by a conviction that this is the most defining reality in your life. And you can't separate these guys from that. And they're fighting, as I said, for the very freedom for all of us to affirm what it is that we believe. I don't think there's any downside to this whatsoever. I think being a Christian makes a man a better soldier. He understands humility. He understands sacrifice. He understands giving up his life for somebody else. He understands honesty, integrity. I think that makes a man a better soldier.
We're not trying to take anyone's religious faith away. There are thousands of chaplains and thousands of chapels in the U.S. military. We're saying that there is a time and a place. It's supposed to be the Pentagon, Dr. MacArthur, not the Pentecostal-gon. This is not a Christian versus Jewish issue. It's a constitutional right and wrong issue. It has nothing to do with Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny. It has everything to do with the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. If this was the freedom of speech we were talking about, you, sir, would demand the right to scream fire in a crowded theater. There are no limits on it.
And you say
you got to stop. You have to stop the sensational, bizarre tactics. All we're talking about here is some men who declared what they believed, who happened to be in uniform and in a building. I don't see any downside. I don't see any violation of any constitutional law, military law at all. This is life. This is who they are, and they can give their opinion on a football team. They can give their opinion on a political campaign.
Gentlemen, we're short on time. Have you ever been in?
Have you ever been in the U.S. military, sir? And can I ask you have you ever been in the U.S. military, and can I ask you what law school you graduated from?
I have not been in the U.S. military, and I have not graduated from law school.
Okay, gentlemen, I need to end it there. It's obviously a fascinating and controversial subject. We will revisit it. We promise you that. Pastor John MacArthur in California, Mikey Weinstein, thank you both for joining us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, John.